Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sarra show. Today, I'm super excited to have Yousef Mamu with me. Hello, Youssef. How
Hey,
are
Sarra.
you?
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me and feeling super good and excited for this discussion.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. You and I met, I think, over a month ago now already at JITEX
Exactly.
in
Yeah,
Marrakesh. And we had such a profound conversation.
the
But,
least you could say. Yeah,
right, for two strangers who've never met,
absolutely.
that I was like, I need to talk to Yousef again. And this time I want everybody to hear, not just me.
That's very nice of you actually to want to broadcast what I'm feeling or at least my story. And if anyone could actually get something positive out of it, I would be feeling really blessed that I helped someone.
It really intrigued me. You're an entrepreneur, you're a founder, you have an extensive experience in business, in building businesses. You've done a lot of exciting things that we'll get to eventually. But I was really intrigued by the kind of person you are, your confidence, your way of speaking, the depth of your soul, your authenticity, and your vulnerability. So I would like to begin by allowing you to share outside of the business perspective and who you are as a businessman. Who is Yousef?
Again, I mean, you said it all, but at the same time, I think that you also intrigued everyone who is actually watching this podcast. Well, Youssef, I'm born and raised here in Morocco. I got my high school degree here in Morocco. Then I left for a super adventure. I was only 17 years old. I went to France. Against my dad's will, he felt that I was too young. The opposite, my mom was really pushy because she somehow felt and knew that this is going to be the life experience I would need to grow as a person. And I thank her for this because it allowed me to basically just rely on myself. And this is probably like one of the strong bases I got out of this experience is if you want to succeed, I mean, it's good to get some help. It's good to get some boosters, but you always need to rely on yourself and then build it yourself. So lived in France for 4 years, lived in Sweden for 5 years. So yes, I do speak Swedish, even though it's spoken by 10 million people. And then I moved to Africa. So I lived in a lot of countries, mainly Sudan, Chad, Mauritania, Senegal, a little bit of Egypt, Tunisia, before I decided to come back home, Morocco. And coming back to saying that you need to rely on yourself is when I just close my eyes and then see all those past professional experiences I had, or at least personal experiences I had in those countries, literally I knew no one there. So no one could actually help me. No one could actually give me any head start. Someone who knows your family, your dad, your uncle, your cousin. I was literally a stranger. So probably, yeah, it's part of the journey that if you want to build something, you need to believe in it. And then you need to just get it yourself. Get some help around you. Get people who are much better than you, who can actually even improve you as a person. But mainly just rely on yourself and then just trust your guts.
You've mentioned you've lived in different countries,
Yeah.
different places. You left at a very young age. What drove you? What kind of way of being did you adapt to be able to do what you did?
Hunger of success. And success not as a financial thing, success as a personal fulfillment. Feeling that you are doing something, you're fulfilling something. And it's till until now, I mean, even part of being in this podcast is also to say, hey, am I able, through me sharing my story, that I could be helping someone? It's always like a lens that I'm keeping. I hope that I will keep, if I still have my mind. But it is really this desire to achieve something. And sometimes you could define yourself, what are the factors of success? It could be financial one, it could be personal one, it could be recognition, it could be just feeling good. But every time, just define what would be your KPIs or like your success lens or sensors, and then see if what you did is actually something that is at least giving you some good vibes, good feeling, or fulfilling some of the needs that you already predefined. So that was it. I was always wanted to. I'm a third of four kids. It's not always an easy to find your spot, and probably it started like this. It's like, hey, I need to show first my parents, and then I realized I don't need to show anyone. I just need to show myself that I'm able to do it, that I'm able to take this challenge, that I'm able, you know what, to fail, and then just dust up yourself, and then retry again. And yeah, this is probably like the engine that is running under this white beard.
So you've mentioned being a middle child, basically, right? And it's true. I find that depending on where you are in the family, it creates your character, at least in the beginning. Yeah. Then it's up to you to decide, do you want to keep that character, or do you want to now create who you really want to create as a person? At what point did you decide, or did you wake up to the fact that I'm actually doing this to prove something to other people? Now I just want to do me. What was that like, and when was it?
As far as I can remember, I was always like creating troubles. I mean, I'm a real troublemaker at school. I was very good at school, having high grades, but also if anything will oblige me to be in sort of conformity, and then I need to be exactly like the others, it just creates a big no, and then I had to be, I don't know, just to destroy those norms, which was not very easy for my parents to manage. And the least I can say for my teachers and then high school teachers is I was not an easy kid, I would say. But it was always part of me, is like, I don't want to be like the others. Not because I dislike the others, it's because I could not really find myself through the others' eyes, or through the lens of those who were actually judging me, I would say. So probably this is what led me to go through this, I would not say personal revolution, but at least really to, if something is not really fulfilling me, then why should I just not speak up and then end it? So this is what created a lot of troubles for me. But this is also what really shaped my own journey to really get closer, because I guess that this is a life journey, get closer to an inner peace. And then the more you get older, I would say the closer you get to, you know what, if it's good for me, it's actually good enough. I don't need anyone's approval. It's difficult to apply this in business, because still with business partners, be it investors, customers, suppliers, you still need to have a kind of approval from them to collaborate. But at the same time, you need also to never forget that this is your own life journey, and no one will live it, and no one will allow you to relive any second that you did not live. It might sound really deep. I don't apply it every day, because sometimes even small things gets me super pissed, and then I'm just a waste of energy. But what I'm saying is that at a certain point, you need to start actually to have your own KPIs, and then how you want to value things, and then how you want to be measuring what you are going through versus just seeking approval from others.
How did you figure out or discover what your KPIs are? And what are your KPIs?
I think the KPIs is also very personal with the definition of what is fulfillment, what is happiness, what is failure, what are your limits, what is enough, what is this fine line between being super ambitious and completely stupidly naive that this is not working and you should stop, versus, no, you know what, you need just to try another extra time, and probably this time would be the right one. Honestly speaking, Sarra, I don't know how or when, but what I just feel is that if there is something that is driving me, it's doing good. And then I do remember once I was in an executive MBA presentation, and then I never forget. I mean, I will never forget this. It's this motto: doing well by doing good, and it somehow started to become my own inner belief is that, hey, let me find what will make me do good around me, but also doing well through it. Because you could actually do well by doing good. And you should not be doing good and then feeling super poor and then really not having a good life. Or you cannot just having a lavish life and then just only think about yourself. And I think this is what started probably back in 2000, could even be specific, crazy, it just came up. Probably 2011, 2012, during my professional life, where I was almost at the top of what I could have achieved at that time, and I was only 30 years old. And I just realized this is not good enough for me. And then when I started to feel that, hey, I need to find a purpose, I need to find, why am I alive? What am I doing here? What can I bring to this world, even though I'm just like just a small molecule in this big scale. And this is probably where it started. I need to find my life's purpose. And I was super blessed to have gone through different professional experiences that allowed me somehow to get almost there. So I'm kind of like thankful and happy to starting to experience this, that doing well by doing good.
I love that motto, doing well by doing good. What I hear in it is a togetherness, right? It's no separation of or sacrifice, right? Because we hear a lot about I sacrificed myself. I did good for them and I sacrificed myself. This is also something that happens a lot. You hear a lot, I would say in Morocco or other countries as well, but I've sacrificed so much for you, or I sacrificed so much for this person. The motto that you're talking about, when you say it, for me, I hear togetherness. There's no need for sacrifice. We can both be okay.
When you are able to find this equilibrium between both, but throughout the journey, obviously, I mean, you would have one way bigger than the other one. And the most important thing is always to keep your eyes open and say, hey, this is not good, because you did not find the right balance yet. And finding it, or at least find the right interval, or at least the right range where you want to be standing. This is what's important, because you could easily fall either right or left, this side or the other side. And when you have this North Star and then not losing, keeping eyes on the prize, this is where it's allowing you to at least keep this balance. And then when you start actually to start feeding yourself, feeding up from this, that by doing good, and seeing that you're doing well, you're feeling good. So you keep doing good, and then you start to doing even better. This is where it's just a blessing to start to reach this amazing cycle.
And this equality kind of, right?
Equality, or at least one is actually feeding up the other. If you keep it as two separate silos, or actually two separate outcomes, this is where at a certain point you will have to choose. But when you force yourself to link them and then say, hey, you know what? If I'm doing really well, but I'm not doing good, I don't feel good. So how can you say that you're doing well? But if you're just doing good and then sacrificing your well-being in general, not only financial, but also in general, being too gentle, too nice with everyone, and then not feeling that you're respected. As an example, you could do good, but you don't feel, you don't do well. So probably it's amazing. I never asked myself those questions, so I'm really answering as raw as it can get.
I love that.
It's basically just to force yourself to always link them up, so that one is feeding the other one. And then if you're drifting apart, the other one will actually bring you back to the right range where you want to be staying. And it's not easy. And this is why, if you find it, if you taste it, again, having nothing as fast food, but if you only eat fast food, and then when you eat at a gourmet restaurant or with a starred chef, you realize that there are other things than just feeding yourself. There's eating and then enjoying. But that's exactly the right thing, is when you start to feel that there are other things that just fulfilling your professional success that you already preset, or just being nice and everyone is liking you, when you start to link, or when you link them and you realize, when you link them, this is where you realize that, hey, I'm into something, let me stick to it, get to the bottom of this, and then if it's good, let me just reinforce it, let me just build as strong walls as it gets, so that this is my shelter and this is where I feel good.
You're experimenting with that, it sounds like.
I mean, I'm only 42 years old, so I'm not like, I'm not like 65 and then start to give, life lessons. It is an experiment. I mean, I've just probably like the last 6-7 years that I started really to taste this. So it is still an ongoing experience. But what is good is that when you see that this is working, it starts to become a way of managing my life with a big L. So whatever decision I need to make, I need actually to take it through this filter. What will this be fulfilling? Helping me to feel good, helping me to do well, helping me to do well, helping me to do good. And the best decisions I'm taking so far, I mean, even for me, jumping out and then launching my co-founding my startup is also a big part of this decision is actually doing good and hopefully doing well. Because, as an early entrepreneur, you want to do well, but as long as right now we're doing good and there is a big possibility that we can do well, it's good enough.
When you say doing good to do well, is that the motto is?
Doing well by doing good.
Doing well by doing
Yes.
good, which means doing well for me by doing good for them.
For the others, for the industry, someone is benefiting from you being alive.
Correct.
Someone benefiting from your decisions, from your drive, from whatever you're bringing to the table. And as long as there are others that could benefit from it other than you, then you're obviously doing something good.
Right.
And doing well is kind of like getting a response back on this good vibe that you are actually sharing with others.
It sounds like everybody's winning in this
It
situation,
should, but
right?
that's the thing, it should.
Yeah.
So you winning is also you defining what is doing well. So if doing well is having 10-digit dollars in your bank account, then you would probably take you a long time before you even reach it. And would people around you are you going to do good for you to reach that high doing well? So you need somehow actually to define what is doing well and what is the limit of doing good. And obviously you're not Superman. I mean, you cannot solve everything. And even though you see problems, at the end of the day, it's not your responsibility to solve every single thing that it's not going the right way it should be. So this is experiment part. It's actually to understand where are the boundaries, where should I stop, where should I say, hey, I cannot do it, this is not mine, or you know what, hey, this is actually enough, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, and it sounds like it could change, right? Like the doing well, like you said, that's your own KPIs, right? Based on my KPIs, I'm doing well, and those can change. Maybe 5 years from now, doing well today, what that means today for me doesn't mean what it means 5 years.
You know what
from
is
now.
crazy? It's every time I said to myself, oh, okay, those are like the targets or those are the main milestones I want to be reaching, and you fantasize. I mean, I want to reach this, but the minute you get it, you just realize. Okay, so what's next? And this is probably like the hardest part is when you set those milestones or those achievements or micro achievements you want to be reaching. You need actually to just pause and then enjoy them. Because if you're just continuously trying to find new milestones, new things to achieve for you to feel well or to do well, you would always be frustrated. So what I learned recently, or not recently, but last year is I've been willing to reach this level of whatever I set myself. When I start to reach it, I just promised myself that I will pause and take some time to taste it, to enjoy it, before I undoubtedly start a new journey and then start actually to divert from where I want to go, climb even higher. But acknowledging that you actually did it is part of the process. And sometimes with a lot of drive, you forget about it. And not doing it is an excellent recipe for frustration, that you feel that you're always like after something that is not there, even though what you fulfilled is actually in line with what you wanted to do a couple of years back.
Yeah.
So take some time to acknowledge, take some time to enjoy,
To celebrate.
to celebrate. And this is exactly what I try also to do with those who are like helping me in this big organization we're trying to build. Is, you know what? I know we have a big fire behind and then we need to save it. But at the same time, it's okay to take a couple of minutes, couple of seconds just to enjoy. And then just acknowledge that what we did was actually good, worth it, was really great. It's worth all the efforts that we did. Okay, fine. Let's move on and let's go to the next level. And this is probably something that I would say to the younger me. Take some time to enjoy what you've been doing, because at that time, it was difficult for you to reach those levels. So when you reach it, you could have taken a slightly more time to enjoy it before you just embark in a new crazy adventure.
You're a very conscious leader. They're leader businessmen who are highly driven by bottom lines or, money and things like, which is, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they're completely emptied from any sort of consciousness or soul, and make the decisions from a different place. Not judging anyone, whatever. Everyone
Exactly,
is
because
okay.
everything I would say right now could even sound funny to someone who actually don't see it this way. So it's very difficult to judge. We're just different.
I also believe that it takes a certain person to be super connected to themselves and decide to lead from a place of not a philosophical place, but just a depth. Is this authentic? Is this aligned with who I am? Is this what I really want? Am I taking the time to celebrate? Where do I adjust? You realize that there's someone inside of you. There's a spirit inside of you.
Crazy enough, but yeah. Someone is inside, yeah.
Right? And it's guiding you, right? There's a power inside of you that's guiding you, and you seem very in tune with that, is what I was trying to say. You're not disconnected.
I understand what you're saying. And again, to build up on this, when you start to realize that being yourself is also allowing you to convey this message to others, and then bring others towards you or towards the goal that you are building. When you see that this is working, you cannot deny that there is something actually there is a product market fit. There is something actually to build on it. It is extremely important to also use this lens and then see, am I able to attract talents who previously were valuing changing, for example, their jobs just by how much would I be getting, the sign-in bonus, this, that, how much I will be making, what is evolution, title, this, versus now you give them a purpose. Now you give them something again. They never tasted, they never knew that it was existing, but they never knew that they would be feeling fulfilled with other things than just a big bonus or like, this is how much I'm making yearly. And when I started to experiment this, discovering it myself, but very rapidly trying to share it with others, this is what I realized, that this is something extremely powerful. And again, I don't know what started it. What I know is it's almost self-feeding itself. So the fact that I see that what I'm doing is actually helping others to also sometimes open their eyes and then have a purpose and then start actually to take more risks, join you, do things, take ownership. This is also very fulfilling to continue doing what it is. And probably by doing so, this synchronization that you said with myself is just reinforcing internally. So if it's working, then it's okay.
How do you, there are a lot of companies that motivate their people through money or titles and things like that, which again is nothing wrong with that. But like you were saying, is short-lived. How do you create that purpose for you people as a leader?
That's a very good question, because you can absolutely not disconnect. You cannot push others to live an entrepreneurial journey the way you're living it. They won't have the same skin in the game. They won't have the same purpose. They won't have the same end goal. So it's very difficult to provide them only things that you think are good for you. So I need to always take into consideration what would be other needs than myself. So be it title, be it bonuses, be it close coaching. But from what I understood from one of my professional bet, I would not take a decision, but it was a big bet. It was for me to leave a very big and successful company and then to jump in a big unknown startup. When I realized that they could be other triggers than just money, title, bonuses, and that worked on me, I said, hey, let me just try it on others. And one of the main things that I understood is being genuine and then articulate what moved you. By finding the right words, by actually putting words on this feeling, this is where you make it slightly easier for others, because you believed in it without any words. You just believed in it. But I took it, tried to simplify it, improve it, and put words on it, and then try actually to provide it or propose it to someone else. Like, hey, welcome. What do you think? Share it, and then just try. This is the kind of leader that I want to be. I'm super tough, by the way. I'm like extremely tough. I mean, don't get me wrong. Extremely tough, super data driven. Love having KPIs, measuring, love figures. I cannot disconnect from having data, having structure, with giving a soul, and then keep giving the purpose its deserved place in the overall journey. So seems to be working. We recently attracted super talents with a lot of years of experience. They agreed to even take a cut in their salaries to really believe in what we're doing. And thank God. I mean, this is a token of that this is working, and it's working on others, which means it could become universal. So first it's on you, then it's on your wife, kids, and family, because you need basically to convince them. If they don't buy into your entrepreneurial journey, you would not be succeeding. Then you start actually to expand the audience, and then the more you feel that, hey, this is creating more and more people, attracting more and more people, then to not forget it on an everyday leadership style, I would say.
It sounds so natural to you. I know you mentioned it's difficult, it's not easy, but at the same time, it sounds not only natural, but essential to your being.
That's part of being genuine. What I felt recently, and especially with all the generation that we feel, the Gen Z, whatever, you really feel, if there is one thing that is common when someone is liking someone else or someone is following someone else, is this person genuine? Do I know if they have any hidden agenda, or am I part of really the big journey? And for me, this is something that is, as long as you're genuine, open, clear, tough but fair, then it's okay. Then it feels natural. When you start actually to fake it because you want to hide something or you want to like make people do things that just for your own purpose, this is where it will catch you up anyway.
And people can feel that,
Of course.
the manipulation and the fakeness, because it's energy. You might not say it in words, but people easily can feel it. People might deny it, you know, that there's something is off. But there's something, you know, like whoever's living inside of us can tell us, hey, this is not aligned. Something is off here.
Absolutely. And then especially where, I mean, things could be working, you have good results, everyone is laughing. But then when shit hits the fan, how do you react? What are your own embedded reactions? This is really driven by the real you. And this is where you see, I mean, where people are sit around when things are not good, then they are really anchored in something that is much bigger than just top line, bottom line, profitability. And this is what we're trying actually to build. It's like if adding a new dimension of how to enjoy or how to be successful rather than just being it like super flat and then just talking about figures.
Sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
I try. Very, very difficult, very frustrating, very... it's not fast enough. We try stuff, it's not succeeding. But yeah, I would redo it in a split second without hesitating.
Yeah. This is your first startup, but you come from the world of VC and you've had extensive experience in other startups. What made you decide to create your own thing? And, you know, may I add that you're the co-founder of Yola Fresh.
Yeah.
You've recently raised $7 million. You've been around for a year only, right?
Yep, exactly.
But you're doing incredibly amazing. Something that, like you were talking about earlier, benefits the whole country and agriculture and food and stuff. That food is so important because it's the most important thing. But prior to that, you were in a VC. What made you make that jump?
I mean, prior to VC, I was in a super big startup called Careem that was acquired by Uber. And that was actually the biggest exit in the region. Uber acquired Careem for $3.1 billion. And before that, I was in big multinationals. The jump to Careem was that I realized that when you are in a big multinational, you could actually help the bottom line, you could help the top line, you can help expand, increase market share, having those analytical, I would say, KPIs. But I never felt that I was making any difference. I was working for a super big, handset slash electronic manufacturer. And at a certain point, I do remember, I said to myself, would it change my life if every single person in my neighborhood, my city, my country is actually buying the product that the company was manufacturing? And I was shocked because the answer was no. If everyone is holding the same brand or the same phone or having the same TV, would it really change my life? No. And this is probably was the beginning of the end of my previous chapter, which is, no, this is not good enough. I need actually to find something that the more successful I am in it, the more fulfilling it is. And this is the doing good, where it's actually started. I never put a word on it until I discovered this doing well by doing good. But that was it. What I started to feel, if you are successful financially or business-wise, what is the other side of the impact? Is it also good impact or no? So then I was like super lucky to join Careem. I was back in 2017. They just raised their Series D. I think just very close or like close to the unicorn status. And it was the best 4 years of my life. Literally, because I just realized the more I was advancing in this adventure, the more fulfilling it was. Even though I was threatened to death 3 times, and serious threats. It was not like, hey, someone was unhappy. It was serious threats.
Like death threats.
Death threats, yeah, absolutely. because we were touching, ride hailing, and then it was touching like a very, very old industry of taxi men, of medallions. Without going into detail, but it was something that people did not want to go through this change and did not want to have any external forces pushing them to change. And yet, I do remember my mom was like, hey, please change the jobs. Like, no, I've never been happy. I've never been as fulfilled as I am right now. So when I realized this, I said, okay, this is great. Now, how can I scale this? Now, how can I do more good and then still be successful? So I said, joining a venture capitalist, a VC, is a way actually of providing mentorship, coaching, as well as writing checks for startups and then for founders. So I did it for almost 2 years. But then actually started to grow back, where it's good to do it, but I want to be in a driver's seat, sorry. And then I want to really be master of this change that I want to be bringing to the world. So I had a list of 4 clear filters so that I would choose which project or which idea I would be pursuing. So I want it to be in a deep market, so it's a market that is deep enough. I wanted something that is tech-driven, oriented, but tech is a big part of it. I wanted something that I can take internationally, not only stay in Morocco, but expand, why not worldwide? But the most important thing, what can I do that the more successful I am, the more good I would be bringing? And I could never have the right idea that it was ticking the 4 boxes until April 22, where my co-founder came to me, a close friend of mine, and then he said, hey, you as a VC, I want to pitch you an idea and see if this is VC fundable. Literally half an hour later, we became co-founder. I ditched everything. Probably one of the few decisions that I took even without consulting my wife. But she knew that, if I said yes that rapidly, that she knew that I had my reasons. But that's the thing. So the minute I really found this idea, I just realized, hey, are you going to be true to yourself? Now that you found those 4, you cannot say, hey, you don't have an idea, or you have those 4, you built extensive experience, you have a large network, you could actually raise money, you could attract talents. There is not a single reason for you to not do it. So and this is where being also true to yourself. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs who would be setting those filters or setting at least those requirements for them to make the jump. But once everything is aligned, then they just cower.
They don't do it.
They don't do it.
Why do you think that happens?
Because I gave a huge part of the doing good. And again, you could give it a title of this podcast, Doing Right by Doing Good. but it's really it. He said, you know what? You could do very well in everything you do. You could even join another company, take like a super, very senior position. Everything is fine. But now you found something and you're into something that could bring a lot of goodness to the world. It might sound cheesy, but it's actually true. And now that we've been operational for 15 months, it is actually a reality. We have thousands of people that are actually working with Yola Fresh, being smallholder farmers or traditional retailers, that in their words, because they should not show you that they're happy, otherwise they feel that they could not get a good deal. But in their own words and own way of being, they are super grateful and thankful that we are here, we exist. This is it's an unbeatable feeling. And you just feel, hey, you know what? I have it with 10, I need to have it with 1,000, I need to have it with million. So I need just to scale this. And this is probably also what allowed us to bring around us exceptional investors, is that they believed in this vision. And most of the entrepreneurs, they would probably value much more from a dollar lens, from a valuation, a dilution, this and that. But it's like when you play soccer, football, or any like elite games. You need those who would be performing on the pitch, but you need also to have the staff behind you. So if you not have the right chiropractor, the right doctor, the right manager, the right banker, you would not be succeeding. And this is what we super early on with my co-founder, we were very clear that we are not looking for dollars. We are mainly looking for partners who would be believing in our vision, would hopefully have deep pockets as well. But it was not the only criteria to select them. And then when you start to create this, obviously the desirability of the project itself goes to the roof. So this is why we were blessed that when we raised, we were oversubscribed. But it was not a byproduct. We really built it from the beginning, that it has a core, it has a purpose, and we decide to take who should be on board. And obviously when you have this level of confidence, well, this is where somehow by magic everyone wants to join in.
It works out.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're not chasing, you're attracting.
Exactly. Oh, that was very well said, Sarah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you mentioned having partners, which is a team. So we're doing this together.
Yeah. Which means when it goes bad for everyone.
Correct.
So it's not like I am accountable and then I'm trying to do my best to make it happen. But if things we're not fulfilling all the business plan that we agreed on, this and that, then it's okay. It's okay, because the most important thing is not to feel stuck or they lose trust in you. But if you miss your targets, it's actually part of the whole journey. So, and this is how when you hear a lot about the due diligence and this and that, you always feel that it's them judging you, filtering you, analyzing, checking if you are providing the right data, if there is any...
You're talking about investors.
Investors.
Yeah.
But you should do the same.
You should do the same.
You should also do the same. I mean, that's exactly when you were looking for a job, you're so eager to find a job that you're just hoping that they would accept you. But you should also see if they are suitable for you.
Correct.
What would they be fulfilling for you other than just wiring money to your bank account? And this is something that people should not be discounting in building the right team around the startup or around the project they're building.
I see it. This is a great point, because I see this a lot in the world of not just startup, but anybody who's trying to make a connection or make something work through someone else, or coming to partnership is the right word here, where I'm also, yes, I'm pitching you, but I'm also bringing a lot to the table. I'm not, you're not doing me any favors. We're doing this together. But you see it in founders, you see it a lot where they feel that they're chasing, right? They need this money, so they're chasing. But don't forget the value that you bring. It's a two-way street.
I was blessed to be on the other side of the fence. And then I was blessed because not only I wanted to do it purposely, I really wanted to be on the investor side, because I knew that I would be raising funds when I would be launching my startup. I did not know which startup, did not know the time frame, but I knew that it will come up to a moment where I need to know what's happening on the other side. This is also probably what's really reinforcing this attractiveness, is that when you talk to them, there's no BS. I know what you want. I know what's bringing. I know what you are looking for. And without really drifting away and then starting to talk about raising money and funds. But let's not forget that themselves, investors, they raised money, and their main goal is actually to deploy this money. So they need to find where to deploy it. You are the product. So you are also giving them the opportunity to almost sit back and see that their investment is fulfilling what they promised to their investors or their limited partners or their LPs. So it should never be, hey, because they wrote a fat check that they control, or no. you also gave them the opportunity to invest. It is extremely difficult to reach this state of mind, but you have to do it to give yourself enough chances to succeed. Because at the end of the day, you are the one making most of the sacrifices, taking most of the hits, taking the daily roller coaster of feeling the king of the world or feeling, why the heck am I doing this? So no one really sees all those big swings. So this should absolutely not be discounted or forgotten when it is negotiated. So when you start to see that no one else on the other side of the table is valuing it, or you don't feel good, don't get in bed with the devil. Because you will regret it the day after.
Yeah, definitely. It's a journey, being a founder, being an entrepreneur. It's definitely a journey. And like you're saying, to reach that state of mind, for me, that's what the journey is about, that personal growth that you're going through and who you're becoming as a human, whether you're a man or woman, but who you're becoming as you're going through those roller coasters. It's all about that. Money is great, and it's part of it, and it's part of you doing well and being able to have a good life.
Very scarce when you're in the early life of a startup. But yeah, it is a byproduct, and it will come anyway. Yeah. Just do things the right way, it will probably come.
What is next for Yola Fresh?
I mean, we're not even scratching the surface. I mean, we have a lot. And then recently, I mean, with some very influential people, we're discussing and they said, hey, we see a lot of problems. We see a lot of opportunities. But guess what? We would never be able to solve them all. So there would be things that we'll take and then we'll try to solve. But we'll also play our role and then flag things that are not working, not fine. They should be solved. And it might even be like a topic for someone else who wants to start it. So I do feel that right now, Yola Fresh, we just recently, I would say, went out from, hey, is this a thing? Is it really acceptable? Because we have to change. There is a lot of change management from people working a certain way, buying fruit and vegetables in a certain way, and then coming and then just changing their habits. We do feel right now that we evolved. We are not, what if, now if, how can we make it better? How can we improve it? We are part of the I would say the fruit and or the fresh business scenery. I mean, we are now being acknowledged by peers that we are part of the picture. That's it. So now we just feel, hey, how can we really take a bigger spot in the picture? And then how can we benefit even more? I mean, just recently, I know it's super specific, Morocco, but recently, a lot of farmers did not even find where to sell their tomatoes and their peppers, and then they destroyed them.
Really?
I mean, a couple of news articles, I mean, and pictures and videos for the past week. It's heartbreaking. This is part of the frustration that, hey, we need to go even faster. Because guess what? Probably out of those hundreds who are like really crying their eyes out because they are just, everything that they worked for the past year is destroyed. We could have helped probably 1, 2, probably 10. And we try actually to tunnel this frustration and then try to, like when you have a sports car and you have a turbo compressor and then you take just air, you just compress it even more so that it releases even more power. We try to take this frustration and then tunnel it so that we can grow even faster. So coming back to what's next, we want to really keep reinforcing the core business. But we recently, and when I say recently, it's 2 weeks back, we just listed the new initiatives where we want to see ourselves. So I know that Jeff Bezos, he said that as a top management, our role is not to operate or work what's happening now. We need to be building or paving the way where the company would be in the next year, 2 years, 5 years. I know that the time frame depends on I would say, how mature the company is, but at least you acknowledge that your role as a leader or the top management is not to operate on a day-to-day, but it's also to create those new streams of revenues. What if this goes actually bad? Yeah, well, at least you build something else that actually you could stand on while you're fixing the others. So right now we're really in this process where we don't feel ashamed to say, hey, even though we're a 15 months old startup, we try to bring all the experience that we had in the past companies and then really like funnel it in a very small surface, which creates a lot of energy. So what we're doing right now is each one in the top management is taking an initiative and then has to take it to the finish line and see if this is something we would be investing and even deciding to raise money specifically for this new service or for this new area. So I would say exciting news, exciting times, exciting as well to see that we built a strong team that actually can run the operations, that can run the business, which is freeing up bandwidth for you to even expand more horizon. And this is super blessing.
I have, this is very exciting what you're building and how you've built a big team already in 15 months. How big is your team?
We are 224, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you manage such a big team?
Empowering management. We took a bet and we decided instead of building the team and then bringing a mid-management, then a senior management, then a top management, we overpaid the overall situation in the beginning by bringing the top management first. And then we built the team already connected with them. So this allowed us actually to grow and then to elevate. And I always say, it's like a boat. When the tide raises, the boat will actually raise. So our goal is to just actually pour in more and more water so that everyone is leveling up. Definitely is bringing people who are way better than you. Every single person that we're having right now in top management is way better than us founders in some particular areas. And the sooner you acknowledge this, the sooner you set it openly, the faster you can actually build something that is stronger. So the big success is that or at least our success factor was that we managed somehow to convince them to ditch their previous life and then to join us. Most of them, they never worked in a startup, by the way. So, and this is probably like a uniqueness of Morocco and then this region. We are still in the super early phase of a startup world. So when you take other countries, even in the region, you take UAE, for example, you take Egypt, you take Nigeria, you still have a lot of startups. You have a lot of people who already worked in one or two startups. They're familiar with the instability, with the uncertainty, with so many specificities of a startup. But in Morocco, it's still in a super early phase. So it also required a lot of heavy lifting to convince them that the purpose is actually big enough that they cannot not try it. And from this, having the right team, second thing is building what I would say visibility on the business. So we're trying actually we're not a tech company, we're a data-driven company. It's what we say to all our investors, and this is what we believe we are. So we should be measuring everything, and most of the decisions should be data-backed and not just feeling. I heard that I feel that we are not that good in here and that. Stop the BS. If you cannot track it, if you cannot measure it, it means that you cannot improve it. Find a way of measuring it. Find proxies. Create sensors. Do stuff so that you can get the right data and then you can see, hey, am I on the right trend or this is not significant and I should not be spending time on it? So again, having the right team, putting the right processes and having the right dashboard, and basically empower them. Let them fail. Let them try things. Don't play what I would call the dead part, which is you're so afraid for your kids that sometimes you don't even allow them to do things because you already know that they're going to hurt themselves. So they say, hey, don't do it. But part of you knowing that it's going to be hurtful is because you tried it yourself and someone allowed you to fail or allowed you to, to get into this wall. So we tried actually to embrace this culture that, you know what? As long as you cannot convince me that this is not working, then it should be working. So if you cannot prove to everyone that this is not something you should be pursuing, then your point of view and my point of view are both right. And
Two things can be true at the same time.
absolutely. Unless you've proven that this is a dead end, and then you should stop it. And this is what I told you previously, that this is really the fine line. What we are trying to improve right now is to understand from day one, those are the success factors. If you reach them, we say that this is successful. If we don't reach them, then that's it. Call it out, call it a night, and then just move on. It's fine. Because you could be spending your energy and time on something else that could be way more productive.
You mentioned that earlier about how do I know if I'm giving up and I'm just tired, or that this is really a dead end?
Again, it's our way of solving it. But what we decided to do is that in the top management, we would be accountable for the initiatives that we are launching. And then everyone is allowed to criticize, to pitch in, to help, or to just counter argument anything that you are proposing. As long as there is still a dynamic around the project, then it's still something alive. When we feel that there is a consensus, when you feel, hey, this is a dead end, I'm tired, if everyone is feeling the same, then it might be true.
Yeah.
When they feel, hey, I think that you did your part, now hand it out to someone else, probably they are much more equipped, or still they're fresher than you, and then they might want to run with it, then it's still okay. So this is our way, and this is how we defined how we would be saying that this is successful. We defined a timeline, and then once we reach there, we will see, hey, if it's worth pursuing or not. And this is why we should always be scrappy, so that if you invest too much time or energy, you would have, like, this, when you invest a lot in a stock market, and then when you invest a lot in a company that's not doing well, you said, hey, I put a lot of money, like, let me put more. At a certain point, you need to define what is enough. So we kind of like built this governance around those new initiatives. We will see if something comes out of this, it's great. If not, I'm sure there will be a lot of learning. So
You did a lot of legwork or work around strategy and how to think and define certain things. You did that from the very beginning. Is that coming from your experience in the past? Is because you're trying to get ahead of certain things, right?
Yeah.
Like it takes someone to do that,
Well, at least, I mean, let's get what we call experience is basically all the successes and failures that you did in previously. When we combine both, both co-founders' experience, and then when we brought in the amazing people we have around, it's a shame to not actually use this to fast track some of the decisions or some of the governance processes. So, for example, when we talk to investors and then we start to talk about how we're managing the unit economics, and then how we are tracking this, and then the expenditures, and then how much the labor is costing me, and this and that. For us, to be honest, Sarra, it sounds natural, normal. When we talk to them, we said, hey, wow, you talk like you're a mature company. And I was just laughing with the top management and say, I don't want to be doing any commercial, but Sheldon and then baby Sheldon? Mm-hmm. It's like if you are like this old person in a small baby's body. We do feel that we are this way. We have an extensive experience. We are still in a small child body. But we want to grow. We don't want to be losing everything we learned. So this is why we felt, let's put this experience to work. So doing a lot of strategy, doing a lot of planning, but also let's really test things and then stay open and then not to be super academic on every project we're launching.
It's a beautiful dance between the two. Like, let's stay open and experiment within structure and governing processes. You know, the usual idea of founders of a startup, they're younger, you know, they're Gen Z, borderline millennials. They don't have a lot of experiences in business. They have an amazing idea, but they don't structure, they don't follow processes, they don't know how to lead, they don't know how to manage. They have a great idea, though. They don't know how to measure. But I love the dance that you do between structure and culture and idea and experiment.
And have fun, for God's sake.
And have fun, yeah.
Spend, 10, 12 hours doing this? Well, at least enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One last question I had for you was, we've talked about, you've mentioned failure multiple times. What is your relationship with failure? Because most people are scared to death from failure. They'd rather not try something than to fail or be rejected or be abandoned. So they don't even try. They don't even experiment, like you're calling it. It takes a certain level of mindset and maturity to be like, oh yeah, I failed, it's okay. And it's also, I find that failure is different in different countries. Some countries push for failures, and it's okay to fail. Some countries, failures carry such shame.
I mean, it's great. When you say countries, you want to more say like culture, social pressure. This is a crazy part. When you remove how the others are looking at you, you free up yourself. When you give importance to how the others are judging you. I mean, I just recently had very strong discussion with my mom, and I don't know, we really started to talk about this. I said, whoever is judging me is actually not busy enough to see himself. He's just like looking around and then trying to judge the others. I feel pity for him because he should be focusing on something else than others. And that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, there are even VCs who would be investing only in first, second, or third failures rather than just freshly. And what we feel that the current culture is much more closer to the European one than to the US one. And then when you zoom out and then when you see Africa and when you see who are like the nations are much more, where their startup ecosystem is much more developed than the others, you see that clearly. I mean, all the English-based countries, they are much less risk averse, and then they would actually try rather than the French-speaking one who actually know, unless it's perfect and I'm controlling the outcome, I wouldn't even go for it. So I think that driving the change in Morocco is also to start to disconnect, or at least to reprogram this part of the brain and say, failure is a must. There is not a single successful one or a single successful entrepreneur who did not go through failures. And a failure could be a complete collapse, or it could be just a daily failure, or something that you did not actually succeed at a particular time where you could not even convince someone who doesn't even know how to read and write, and then you're providing him a right solution, but he's still not convinced. This is part of the failure. So the big advice that I would give, and again, with all modesty, is try to disconnect what the others, and especially what the family would actually would see your success or failure. So one of the early things that I did is actually to get in sync with my super close family. It's like, hey, I'm doing this. There's a lot of risks. It could actually go super well. It could actually go super bad. I might be losing that much money. I might be losing that much time of my life. But I'm doing this, and you should be okay with it. Once you build this kind of first shield, then you should just disconnect what the society, what the others would be thinking. Because, like it or not everyone is loving to see someone else successful. Because someone else successful meaning that I could not do it, or they're better than me. So then you'd better not use this as measurement lens because it's super biased. So at least get the endorsement of the super close one who would be genuine about you being successful or like you being or you failing this. And then just try to decrease as much as possible the importance of what the others would be saying.
Yeah, it's like creating that first support system.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, it doesn't matter. It's also true that in different cultures and different places and different people and social norms, you might see someone creating something amazing that you haven't achieved and be inspired by that. Oh, he's doing it or she's doing it. I can too. Look what an inspiration. Or you can hate on them, right? You can go two routes. You could see what you haven't done, but that you can as well if you put in the work. Or you could see, just focus on hating on them and not take any action towards that.
And that's really close to something. Sometimes when you scroll down on all the social networks and stuff, when you see what the others are doing, in a certain way, you're always comparing, hey, okay, they did this, they achieved this, they got promoted to this, or they traveled here, they did that. This is also part of what is the importance of the outside lens on your success or on your failure. So it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of, I would say, leadership on yourself to convince yourself that put the right sensors in place to measure the right things.
Talking about social media and all and comparing, I feel like there are times where it's good to be able to look up to someone and be like, okay, I can do that as well. I'm looking up to this person. Or you can get lost with other people. You're like, you don't even want that, but it looks good from the outside. So you go chasing something you don't even want just because it looks good on someone else. But if you're so in tune with yourself and you know who you are and what you want, and you know who to look up to, then that could be an inspiration. So who do you look up to?
Yeah, I'll take a veto on this because it's honestly, I don't have an answer. I mean, it's really depending on the situation, your state of mind. Honestly, I don't know how to answer. It might be shocking to not really have an idol or someone to look up to. I mean, obviously successful ones are like really inspiring, but it could also be inspired. I mean, just recently I met someone who, from his social norms, is not a successful person. But what he's doing and the extra efforts he's doing to build things that he's doing in his neighborhood, and then he even managed to do good in other countries by him staying here. It just inspired me. So I would not be looking up to people. I would be looking for inspiration. And whatever would hit me that time, I would actually take it. But honestly, I don't have a straight out answer to say, hey, this leader is actually, I want to be like him, because everyone is unique.
How about when you were a kid? Did you look up to anybody? Did you dance to anyone's tunes?
Honestly, no.
Favorite singer?
Honestly, no.
No,
like really, it's crazy. I mean,
it's
and
not.
It's raw. And it comes. And no, I like a lot of things. I dislike a lot of things as well. But it's not like if I'm having something specific and someone else is driving me. It's like whatever it comes, I'll just try to actually get it, filter it, and then keep what I want, and then just throw what I don't need.
Yousef, it was so nice having you here today. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Again, I mean, as I said in the beginning, I did not even know where this discussion would actually lead us. So really thank you, because you asked like some really terrific questions. And I really tried to play it along and then just answer it as it comes. So it allowed me to hear things that I very rarely say it out loud. So thank you for inviting me and then hosting this.
My pleasure. Thank you everyone for watching the Sarra show. This was Yousef Mamu with me here today, live from Casablanca. I'll see you next episode. Thank you.